Hello and welcome to Access 2013 tutorials. In this video I'm going to be talking you through tables and data types associated with tables. So if you want to play along, follow the link below the video to the download section of the website and download Access 2013 DB02. However, if I'm being honest, you don't really need to. So let's open this bad boy up in 2013 if we can. All it's actually got in it are the tables from the hotel booking system. So as we're doing data types anyway, we don't really need to worry about that, but they're there anyway just so you can check them out. Right, so tables. What are tables? Tables are two-dimensional grids in which you can store data. So think about Excel spreadsheets, think about a list of data, think about a shopping list where you have one column and multiple rows. We would describe that table terminology. First row bananas, second row tomatoes, third row milk. So that's kind of table you create yourself. Excel spreadsheets, the same idea, except you can have multiple rows, so multiple columns. So you could have your shopping list on the left and you could have the quantity the next row over. Might even have the location, the column after that. I keep saying row and I mean to say column. What am I doing? Okay, so hopefully you get the idea to a point. Now if we go create on the tab and go to, let's go create table rather than table design, you can start to see the idea of what I'm talking about, in that you've got a column here which in this case is called ID, and let's name this second column, let's go to, click on this arrow here, go to short text, and we'll call this one shopping list. I don't actually want this ID column, so I'm just going to delete it, bring it back a bit later. You can't delete. Alright, well we'll do that in a minute then. Okay, so right click here, save this and call it table shopping list. Right, so we've got shopping list, we want number here, quantity, shopping list quantity, and we'll go short text again, location. So now let's see if we can delete it. No, okay, go to design view. I just don't want it. Click in there, delete that. Good, alright, go away. Never want to see you again. Alright, let's go. So, what does a table do? It stores lists of data, like I said. So, for example, bananas. How many bananas do we want? Let's say 5 bananas. And where are we going to get them from? The supermarket. I'm choosing a generic name so as to avoid any kind of issues in the future. Okay, what else do we want? Tomatoes. How many tomatoes do we want? 6 tomatoes. Where from? The fruit stall. Hands up if you know what a fruit stall is. And what else did I say? Milk. Quantity 2 from the corner shop. Well, you'd probably get it from the supermarket if you went there. Buying in bulk is normally cheaper. But there you go. Right. So that's the idea of a table. Nothing devastatingly major about this. List of data. So in one column we have the main item of the table, which is the item we're buying. The second column we're listing the quantity, and the third column we're listing the location. So I said that's tables. Now where data types come into this, if you drop this into design view, we are choosing the data type here. In this case we've got short text, in this case we've got number, in this case we've got short text. Basically the way it works is that, or the way computers work generally, is that different data types take up different amounts of memory. So this word here, bananas, takes up more memory than this number 5 does. And for that reason it's important when you make a table that you choose the most accurate data type, because what you're essentially telling Access to do when you choose short text or number is to make a sort of a space in the memory for potential items, and so Access can organize its memory better. It's basically like having like two lockers, a small locker and a large locker. In the small locker you want to put small things, in the large locker you want to put large things. If you put small things in the large locker, when it comes to putting a large thing in there won't be any space, and that's kind of the same with memory, so you can streamline it down. Now if you look at the different data types, you've got short text and long text. They're basically the same idea, which is you can put characters there, things that make up words. Telephone numbers would actually be short text, for example. Short text rather than number, because you don't do calculations on them. The only difference between short text and long text is short text has a limit of 255 characters, and long text has a limit of something like 16,000 odd. So things you'd store in short text, for example, if you've got a shopping list, you're going to store the name of the items because they're short, people's first and last names, first line of an address. Things you'd store in long text, you might have a table about somebody and you might have a notes field, so you'd probably have that as long text. Right, next we get to number. Now we've got, within numbers we've actually got different types of data types. So when you choose number, the default data type is long integer. An integer is a whole number, so this means that here with quantity you can never store, for example, 5.5. I can try and do it, I don't think it will work. Shouldn't work. All it's done is actually round it up to 6. So you can never do that because it's an integer. Now a long integer, you've got integer and long integer. Integer stores from something like minus 32,000 up to 32,000. So if you try and put, I think it's 32,768 maybe. Now if you try and write the number 32,769, you should get a bug unless they've changed it. Well, let me just put 33,000. Oh, they've changed it. Oh no, that's because it is long integer. Dope. Let's change it to integer first of all before we do that. Right, try that again. Yeah, I'll save that. Yeah. Larger than the field size settings. Alright, so it will do 32,767. No, right, so that's your limit, 32,767. And I think it's like minus 32,768, something like that. Going the other way. So that's the difference between integer and long integer. They're both they both hold whole numbers, but long integer will go above 32,768. So when do you use each of those? You would use long integer for IDs. So for example, every time you add a record, you add a unique ID, because it's very feasible to go above that amount of IDs, and you'd use integers for things like short quantities. So they're the two I use quite a lot. The third one I use a lot, I'm not even going to talk about the other ones, is double. I basically use double for storing fractional values. So if I change that to double, go to datasheet view, save it, now I can actually turn that into 5.5. So yeah, in all honesty, I'm not even going to explain the other ones because I only ever use integer, long integer and double. Single's actually the same idea as double, fractional, but it stores less values, but I never tend to use it. So that's short text, long text, number. Date time, do I need to explain that? Guess what, it's for storing dates and times. Date. Oh, reserved word, be careful. Shopping list date. So let's change that to date time. Go to datasheet view, have a look what we got. Okay, so if you click in there, now we're storing it as a date, we actually get a nice little date text box. You can actually store times in this sort of format here. Okay, so there's your date and your time. I'm not going to talk about that one too much. Next, currency. Currency is obviously for storing money, and it's actually it's a form of long integer type, I do believe. Well, don't quote me on that. Yeah, I don't know what to say about currency. I actually do something worth saying about currency. It's converted that into 41,423. Yeah, what's worth saying about currency is that I'm based in the UK, so as I've chosen currency, it will read off my currency that I've selected from my Windows, which is why it's showing a pound. If you take this same database and don't change anything and would open it up in the United States, for example, that would immediately change to dollar, or it should do. Like 99% of the time it does. There's a bug sometimes it doesn't. But you know what, maybe they even fixed that in 2013, who knows. So beyond that, I'll get to auto number in a second. Yes and no fields are for things that require yes and no. So bought. So let's say that we don't know when we're going to get our shopping. We don't know at the moment if they're even going to have it. And when we get back, we look at all the stuff we've bought and we say, okay, we were able to get bananas and we were able to get tomatoes, but we weren't able to get milk. So this is what's called a Boolean data type. In that you've got two options: yes, no, true, false. Yeah, so there you go. What else have we got? Attachment field is so you can attach documents such as Word documents, Excel sheets. Very useful, actually. One of the most useful features in Access. Because trying to do this in something like SQL servers, a really enormous pain. So yeah, this is actually really useful. And the other thing you've got before I get to auto number is Lookup Wizard, where you can basically, I'll click on it and show it to you. You can go to take values from another table, so I'll do that next. So let's say, for example, table bookings. No, let's not. Let's say table guests. Next, and I want guest ID and I want first name and last name. And sort by last name. Finish. So now what I've got, if I go to data sheet, is if I click here, it's actually looking up these values in this table here that I can't see. There it is. What you actually see is kind of like a bit of a red herring. We see the names, but the actual value it's storing is the ID value, which is this column here. There's a little bit of a thing about looking up values in other tables. There's nothing wrong with doing it per se, but it's not how to put this. I've seen databases where people have done all kinds of crazy stuff in that they're storing the ID number, but they're actually looking up values from several different tables, and it can cause so many issues. So if you're going to use lookup fields, there's no problem, but just keep it simple. This is a simple lookup field. We're storing the ID value and we're displaying the names. That's simple. Keep it simple and you won't have any issues. Right, last but not least, I did say about the auto number. Okay, I'm going to insert a row here. Now it's quite common, well, it's actually pretty ubiquitous, that every single table you make has an ID column. And what you do, you tap in ID, go to auto number, click on here, go to design and click on primary key if you want to. Yep, save that and go to datasheet view. And the idea of the ID field is that imagine, well, actually let's have a look at guests, if that's even such a good example. You might have two guests called Hannah Travis. How do you know which one is which? Well, they're identifiable by the guest ID, which is an auto number field, and an auto number field just increments by itself. So if I add a record down here, it will automatically add one there. So I'm going to do this. What shall I add? Chocolate. And look, I didn't do anything with the ID field, but it automatically added the number 4. So it will keep incrementing as we wish. Yeah, that's the ID field. Don't really know what else to say. If you delete this, it's probably worth mentioning. And we add another one. What shall we add? Apples. Look, it doesn't actually reuse the number 4 again. It won't reuse that. Gone forever. It won't reuse it. So it will use the next available number, which is number 5. And that's the ID field. This is kind of critical to pretty much all of the any table you make, that you have this ID field as a way of identifying it. Don't rely on names, for example. Like I said, if you can duplicate it, you cannot rely on it as an ID field. It is possible to have ID fields as non-auto numbers, but if they're generally is a way to make it an auto number field in Access. You're normally on the right path to having a well-structured database. So that's that. Okay, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video, where we should be talking about relationships in tables, not in real life. Okay, so thanks for watching, and goodbye.